Coming up tonight on YCN News, Unity residents will face a tough decision to make on a bond that could increase school taxes. We'll hear from a Proctor Academy wildlife biologist on the science behind maple sugaring. And 2 Claremont men will be recognized for their military service during the Vietnam era. For more news, weather, and sports, it's time for YCN, your local view.
Now, your daily digest of the Dartmouth Lake Sunapee region, southern Vermont, and Windsor County. News, sports, weather, and all that is happening in our area. The news on YCN, your local view.
Good evening, and welcome to this Wednesday edition of YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. Unity residents have a tough decision to make on Saturday. Should they vote to approve a $2.75 million bond that will increase their school tax rate to $18.90 per $1,000 valuation? And if they don't support the bond needed to complete this multi-story grade school, they will still have to pay higher taxes, only this time the school tax will rise to $25.10 per $1,000 valuation. School board members Vice Chairwoman Prudence McCormick and Bob McDevitt met with district leaders and the public Tuesday night in Unity Town Hall. Some residents say they feel ashamed by the construction's slow progress. Others say they feel the town is the laughingstock of the state. SAU 6 Superintendent Middleton McGoodwin told about 45 residents that they have a right to be angry. If the school bond is not approved, this Sullivan County town's taxpayers will need to pay for each child in grade K through 8 to be sent to another area public school. About 120 students comprise the Unity District. Now, kindergarten through grade 5 students are attending class at Disnard Elementary School in Claremont. Grade 6 through 8 students are at Claremont Middle School. The Claremont School District, to help Unity residents, is not charging any tuition for these students while the school building dilemma continues. Trumbull Nelson of Hanover is now the project contractor, relieving architect and Unity resident Scott Vaughn of that role. Vaughn remains the architect on record. He has not attended the last several Unity school board meetings at the school administration's request. Residents at Tuesday night's meeting included men with construction experience. Barty Flanders is one of those men. He grilled the board about the steel fabrication inside the unfinished building. Resident Adam Boardman urged townspeople to support the bond so that their money would be paying for a completed building. Joe Warner asked McCormick and McDevitt if they would be prepared to deliver information to help voters decide on Saturday. Warner questioned why school board chairman Sean Randall was not at the night's meeting. The board and SAU 6 administrators are focusing on the March 22nd vote. After this date and the outcome of Saturday's annual school district meeting, McGoodwin said alternatives can be researched if the vote fails. School District Attorney Matt Upton said at an earlier meeting that he will examine earlier building contracts to determine any legal recourse for the town. The school project began as a $4.7 million project approved by voters about 2 years ago. Donations have come in to help with costs. When completed, the school may cost taxpayers several million dollars more than expected. An explanation of how the $25.10 school tax rate was determined can be found on the Unity Elementary School website under Unity School Building Construction Information. Saturday's meeting begins at 10 a.m. in the Claremont Opera House. When YCN News returns, we'll continue with more news.
The YCN News continues in a moment.
Hi, this is Anita from Brattleboro Mobile at Exit 3. The store now offers more products you can pick up when you're on the go. Green Mountain Coffee, drinks and snacks, beer and wine, and hopefully your next winning lottery ticket. Also, Brattleboro Mobile has added diesel fuel to go along with the 3 different grades of superior mobile gasoline. And remember, we have a courteous staff, a brand new look, and a convenient location, all at Brattleboro Mobile. See you soon.
Brattleboro Mobile on the roundabout at Exit 3.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. Town Meeting Day in New Hampshire marks traditionally the start of maple sugaring season. Cold nights combine with warm days to get the tree sap flowing. It's a time-honored and treasured tradition in New England. Let's visit with YCN's John O'Connor and Proctor Academy wildlife biologist Dave Pilla about the science behind this practice.
Other than sort of it's getting a little bit warmer, how do you know really when to start tapping trees? And also, is it too soon? Like if we have a warm day in January, is that too soon to tap trees?
Well, John, that's a great question. When do you tap? Well, in this neck of the woods, there's always been the tradition of town meeting day as when you tap out. Now, of course, Mother Nature being who she is, there is no set time to tap out. What you try to do, to the best of your ability, is get a sense of what the weather pattern is going to be. You try to find when there's going to be that consistent time of those cold nights, in the 20s and those warmish days in the 40s. And God knows we get those sometimes in January, that classic January thaw. And today was kind of a perfect day. It's sort of been our first perfect day.
So when you tap a tree, next year, do you go to the same spot? Do you go to a different spot? How many times can you tap a tree before it's tapped out?
Great. Another great question, John. If you look at boards that come out of a sugar maple that have been tapped through time, what you'll see is where the tap hole is, there is a sort of a line of scar tissue above and below that particular tap hole. And it's not that scar tissue is no longer important for the tree. It is, but it no longer has what we consider vascular tissue in there. It no longer has active transport of sap in there. So if you tapped right into that old tap hole or right above that old tap hole in years to come, you're not going to get any or very, very little sap. And so the rule of thumb, at least that I was taught way back when, was a couple of inches either side of an old tap hole and about 6 inches or a foot above or below that old tap hole.
Can you overstress a tree? Can you tap it too many times?
Another great question, John. Yes, you can. Cutting right to the chase, there is nothing good about putting a hole in a tree. Trees don't benefit by us tapping them. With that said, there are things that I believe, and I have faith that most sugar makers believe, that there are ways of minimizing that harm. And the first thing we think about is the size of the tree. And most textbooks will say that a tree should be 10 inches in diameter to take one tap. And then for every 5-inch increase in diameter, you could take one more tap. So a 15-inch tree could take 2 taps and on up the line. What I tend to do is be ultra conservative and wait till a tree is 12 inches in diameter to take a tap. And then we're never going to put more than 2 taps in a tree. Even if that tree was 30 inches in diameter, I'm never going to put more than 2 taps in that tree. Now, you could talk to 10 different sugar makers in the area and they might have 10 different philosophies. But as far as I'm concerned, it's not good to tap a tree. In other words, it certainly is adding a wound to that tree. And so I want to make certain that we're minimizing the stress on that tree overall.
Thanks for this great story, John and Dave, especially letting us know of how to best take care of a well-tapped tree for sugaring seasons to come. It's never too late to say thank you, nor is it ever too late to honor the life of someone who served our country. And the personal connections that bind a community together, 2 Claremont men will be recognized for their military service during the Vietnam era. Stevens High School graduate James Marsden, class of 1960, and West Point graduate, class of 1964, will have his name added to the Broad Street Memorial statue, as will Robert Finnan, also a Claremont native. Marsden died after returning home to the U.S. The effects of Agent Orange contributed to his death. It has taken many years for the federal government to admit of the health implications of this poison on soldiers' health. Making the case for both names being added to the Broad Street Memorial was Ward 2 City Councilor Charlene Lovett, herself a U.S. Army veteran. Lovett momentarily recused herself from her council seat at the board's March 12th meeting to explain why these names should be added. Former Claremont resident and Marsden's niece, Kim Chewning, sought Lovett's help. Chewning, through Lovett, received this help. Marsden received several medals for his valor, including the Purple Heart. The city's other councilors and Mayor James Nielsen voted to add the names. Finance Director Mary Walter said some money could be provided by the city to accomplish this engraving. Because Marsden did not die in combat in Vietnam, his name cannot be inscribed on the Washington, D.C. Vietnam Memorial. In a note both sad and heroic, Finnan's name is on the wall. Finnan died at age 19 in 1969 while fighting in the Southeast Asian War. At Monday's ceremony in Claremont, Marsden's memory was honored.
The YCN News continues in a moment. You're watching YCN, your local view, on WNMN DT40, serving Saranac Lake, New York and the Adirondack region. WYCX CD2, serving Manchester, Vermont in the Green Mountain State. WYCU LD26, serving Charlestown, New Hampshire in the Dartmouth Lake Sunapee region of the Granite State. And on demand at YCNnow.com. YCN is your local view, owned and operated by Cross Hill Communications, LLC.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Rose Spellman. Now Matt McDonald will have a look at our weather for the next 5 days, and he'll take a look at some local college sports.
Thanks, Rose. Tomorrow we're expecting snow showers, so be careful when driving. Highs will be in the mid-40s with a low of 25 degrees. Friday will be partly cloudy with a high of 40 degrees and lows in the 20s. Saturday will be getting mixed precipitation, so you might want to stay indoors. Highs will be in the 40s and lows will be in the 20s. Sunday temperatures will drop to a high of 35 degrees and with lows in the single digits. Monday will have highs in the upper 20s and a low of 6 degrees, so dress warm. And now let's look at the northeastern and national radar maps. Now let's look at our community calendar. Tomorrow in Brattleboro, head over to the Latches Theater for the Wyndham Orchestra show at noon. The Marina Restaurant will be holding open mic night in Brattleboro at 7 p.m. In Cornish, New Hampshire, the Planning Board will be meeting at 7 p.m. tomorrow. Friday morning in Charlestown, New Hampshire, the Senior Center is holding an indoor yard sale at 9 a.m. Remember, you can submit local events from your community by sending them to news@ycnnow.com. High school sports may be nearly over now, but college sports are still ongoing. Let's not forget the huge UNH versus Providence matchup taking place this Friday at 8 p.m. Number 4 UNH is headed to Boston at the TD Garden for the Hockey East semifinals. Providence is ranked number 3. YCN News will keep you updated on this game and the results. Today, the UVM men's basketball team is headed to Athens, Georgia to take on Georgia State. The game starts at 8 p.m. Vermont is ranked at number 7 and Georgia is ranked at number 2. After an upsetting loss in Albany, UVM now feels ready to face Georgia. They know some of Georgia's strategies and are hoping to outsmart them today. In Colby Sawyer College sports, the women's lacrosse team is hosting Utica College at 4 p.m. for a game. Come by and check it out.